We finally have information coming out of Japan on the next generation Harrier, which is the Venza, which got discontinued for our market. That's on the front cover of this month's Best Car, the most reputable source for upcoming Japanese cars. But what's actually the most exciting thing for our market, since this vehicle got canceled, is the news coming out about this car. This is the new Corolla, and the new Corolla is coming before we know it, and we finally have details, at least according to Best Car, regarding the world's best-selling car of all time. If you're excited for the next-gen Corolla, smash the like button, and let's get into it. All right, let's look at the design first. Now, we do not get this car in this form in America. This is a touring sports or the wagon version of the Corolla. I would give a lot to have a wagon Corolla back in the United States. The Crown Signia is kind of like a wagon version of the Camry, if you want to look at it that way, except the Camry's better. Watch my reviews on both of them. In fact, I'm getting a XSE Camry fully loaded in the next few days for a week-long review. So I'll have probably 2 or 3 separate videos on the Camry. So make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss that coverage. They're fairly confident on the design, and they nailed the Prius. Best Car also nailed the GR Corolla. They nailed the Land Cruiser. I don't know how close they're going to be here to the design. And I guess when we start reading it, we'll have a better idea on how accurate they think this design is. But regardless, as much as I want the wagon, we're probably not going to get it here in the United States. We'll start from the bottom up. This very much looks like the Prius, the intake at the bottom anyways. As we get higher, yes, it still has the hammerhead design, but it's starting to differentiate itself from the Prius, absolutely. Again, Toyota likes putting the Toyota logo above this sensor bar area where we have the sensor for radar cruise control, things like that. You can also sandwich cameras in there for 360 camera. Daytime running lights are pretty simple here, almost like a hockey stick, just a bi-LED headlight here. So nothing too crazy, but look at these vertical lines here. Are they going to integrate the turn signals into this part of the hammerhead design? I highly doubt it. I bet the turn signal is just going to be the daytime running light that can turn a different color. That's how it is on pretty much all Toyotas right now. They're saying because the new engine technology in here, that it's more compact, we have a very aggressive front end like the Prius. Now, the Prius is not using it's using a current gen engine, and in fact, it has the newest 5th gen hybrid, but it is not using a next-gen gasoline engine. It's using the current Dynamic Force M20A engine. And in other markets, the Corolla, like this model, as well as the hatchback hybrids, they get the 2-liter hybrid that the Prius and the Corolla Cross systems have. But here in the United States, they haven't brought those powertrains, more powerful powertrains in. And I don't think there's a possibility they might not ever. All right, so let's go ahead and get into what they're saying about the new Corolla, when it's coming, what to expect powertrain-wise. Well, they're saying it's coming in 2026 as a 2027 model year. That lines up with one of my previous videos in the anticipation of the new design. All right, 1.5 hybrid. And this 1.5 hybrid was just detailed at the workshop with Mazda and Subaru, all of them offering next generation glimpses of not only engines, but also their hybridized powertrains. The dotted lines are current generation hybrids within the Toyota lineup. And the solid lines are the next generation hybrid powertrains. If we look here, it looks like the motor is going to be bigger. The electric motor is going to be bigger. You're going to have more torque, all right, from this electric motor compared to current generation. Now, let's just follow the blue. The motor is always going to provide more power than the previous generation motors, and significantly more, to be honest. If we look at what this is saying, it's almost 2 times more power of electric assist compared to the current setups with the 5th generation hybrid. So a much higher electrical contribution for acceleration. We are getting a larger battery too, to provide the enhanced electrification. How much is the battery going to be? I don't know. If you look at the Sienna, for example, if you're able to drive that in town mostly, you're going to get crazy fuel economy. I got up to around 46 miles per gallon driving my family around, not cranking the AC. It wasn't that hot that time of year when I had it, but that has one of the largest hybrid batteries in all of Toyota's hybrid lineup. It's almost 2 kilowatt hours. So I think we're going to see hybrid batteries around 2 kilowatt hours going forward for Toyota hybrids. All right. That in theory drives up cost, but what does it allow them to do? Well, it allows them to keep smaller engines, and smaller engines mean less emissions. It means less fuel consumption as well. So you can see the new engines have lower RPMs, although they have less torque. Toyota's current engines have a pretty long stroke, if I remember, and they provide pretty good torque. The new engines are much more compact, and in destroking them, we're going to get less torque, but we're going to get, in theory, better synergy with the hybrid system. Now, we're not going to talk about the 2-liter turbo today, and it's going to be a work of art. I can't wait to see it in Toyota and Lexus products, up to 400 horsepower on this guy, which is going to be awesome. Here is what we're seeing. The new 1.5 turbo is going to replace the A25A engine in due time. We don't know when this is going to start switching over. But if you look at anything with the 2.5-liter naturally aspirated, let's say all the Toyota hybrid systems with the 2.5-liter naturally aspirated, they're going to reduce an entire liter by having a more compact engine with a turbo on it. So we get a volume reduction of 20%. We get a height reduction of 15%. And that's why we saw such an aggressive hood angle on that new Corolla. And it will be not just the Corolla, it's going to be all Toyota and Lexus models pretty much going forward with really raked and low hoods or bonnets, and a very aggressive windshield as well for better aerodynamics, which will increase efficiency and range. But this Corolla is not supposed to have this turbo option, and you might see performance cars with this 1.5 turbo. Now, it is a 4-cylinder, by the way. So if we look at this graph, we're going to see the naturally aspirated on this Corolla hybrid. It's going to replace the 1.8 liter and probably the 2.0 liter. Toyota's probably going to reduce the amount of hybrid configurations out there. So you'll have like a 1.5 naturally aspirated hybrid on lower models, maybe B and C segment. And then on C and D segment, you're going to have 1.5 turbos potentially mated to hybrid systems. It's going to be quite entertaining. But if we look at the current 1.5 liter naturally aspirated, which we don't get in the United States, but that is seen in, I think, the 3-cylinder Yaris, for example, we see much greater thermal efficiency and also higher power output. Again, naturally aspirated to naturally aspirated. So Toyota's doing some sort, I don't know if it's higher compression on this naturally aspirated. They're doing some sort of magic here to get more horsepower and higher thermal efficiency. So we already saw this, the 1.5 4-cylinder turbo replacing the 2.5 liter naturally aspirated. Now, if we look at this, the naturally aspirated, we get a 10% height reduction and 10% volume reduction. They're going to be able to put these in smaller packages. And in theory, this sort of engine could be a sort of range extender. And the turbo doesn't add that much more size to this if they want to put it in, let's say, a Crown Estate or something like that, or a Crown Signia. They could put a 1.5 turbo, or let's say the next gen RAV4, they could do that as well. Here's some more pictures of the 1.5 liter. It is minuscule, and this is the hybrids, the setup that it's connected to, I believe. And you can see how much less space it takes. All this red stuff that you see here is the current engine that this will be replacing. So much smaller, much more compact, and it's going to allow new designs to take place that enhance efficiency. If we get 10% more horsepower here, we could see maybe 150 horsepower, something like that. They're saying the next Corolla will be mainly a 1.5 liter hybrid electric vehicle. Now, the Camry just went full hybrid. The RAV4 will be full hybrid, including plug-in hybrid. Could the Corolla go full hybrid here in the United States? I don't know yet. The jury's still out, but mainly a hybrid. The Corolla is mostly it's actually only a hybrid in Europe. It's probably mostly, if not only, a hybrid in Japan. There's a good chance that the Corolla will be mostly hybrid here in the United States, if not only hybrid. All right. They're calling this a realistic and practical electric vehicle. They're also saying there will be a plug-in hybrid. Will we see a plug-in hybrid Corolla stateside? I highly doubt it. In Europe, almost guaranteed, right? They're saying this new 13th generation is going to be even sportier. While looking at the design here and how it looks kind of like a Prius wagon, yeah, it's definitely going to be sportier. Sedan, touring, and sports models continue. The sports is what they call the hatchback over in Japan. We're not going to see the touring, unfortunately. They're saying the touring design that they're showing here in the magazine is expected. Time will tell to see how accurate Best Car is with this sort of design. They might be spot on like they were with the Prius, once again, like I mentioned at the start of this. Target for thermal efficiency is over 46% or more for this 1.5 liter naturally aspirated engine. Now they're saying the 1.5 turbo that we talked earlier covers up the 2.5 liter class. We are not going to, since there's no Corolla with a 2.5 liter, the only way we see 1.5 turbo in a Corolla would be like a GR Corolla, but they have the 1.6 3-cylinder, which is a much better engine for performance compared to this new 1.5 hybrid engine. The 1.5 turbo kind of reminds me of what Honda has, but it'll, it's going to be superior to that because it's not going to be alone. It's always going to be, I would assume it's always going to be hybridized. So this turbo engine by itself can provide, let's say, 200 horsepower and 200 pound-feet of torque. And then you hybridize that, you're going to see 250 horsepower easily from the hybrid system. And they're saying pretty much everything on the K platform, the Harrier, the RAV4, I could say Highlander, Grand Highlander. Well, the Highlander might go fully electric. That's another video. But that would also be the Sienna would be getting rid of the 2.5 liter for a 1.5 liter turbo hybrid in theory. And that would also mean the NX, the RX, the ES could be going not to a 2.5 liter 350h, but a 1.5 liter turbo 350h. They talk a little bit about the new BYD hybrid, how it's very impressive, has great range. It's a plug-in hybrid, but it also has really good efficiency once that EV range runs out. And it looks like Toyota is having that BYD hybrid system as the gold standard, and they want to try to take that down. Now, they kind of remind us that BYD and Toyota has a joint venture together. Now, that's for battery electric vehicles and for battery procurement for those electric vehicles. But they're saying, hey, Toyota could be learning from BYD and vice versa to make the best hybrids in the world. Dive into this. This is going to be pretty exciting. The Toyota lineup of near future. So not later this decade, like in the next couple of years, it seems like we're going to see these new engines being slotted into. Toyota's not going to waste a whole lot of time here. The next generation 1.5 liter engine for Toyota will cover main models to power not only Toyota, but Lexus. It'll happen in 2026. Like we said, for sure, we know it's coming to the Corolla. That's what they're saying anyways. We don't have production stateside of these engines. It might be a while. Maybe they start making these 1.5 and 1.5 turbo and the 2 liter turbo engines in Japan first, and all those will be imported into the United States before we have next generation engine capacity here stateside. Time will tell, though. Interestingly, they say the Crown Series probably won't see it until 2027, these new engines. We already talked about the Velfire and Alphard getting the new engine, but it could be a while for there. Now, the RAV4, they're saying, is going to have next generation powertrain. Oh, I don't know. To me, it might be too early, or this vehicle might come too early in order for that to happen. The RAV4 is supposed to be out in 2025. Again, the earliest these engines are hitting is 2026 in theory with the new Corolla. The Prius, they're saying it will drop the 2 liter for the 1.5 liter, but they're saying it's a long way off. So it's interesting why they even include these vehicles here, because they really don't know when or if those vehicles are getting the upgraded engine technology here. This video is getting pretty long, and I'll have to update you guys in separate videos about the FJ Cruiser and the availability of it, well, or the lack thereof here stateside. And also I want to talk about the new Venza and Harrier because it is on the K platform, and the K platform is what the RAV4 is based on. So we'll get into this in a separate video, so make sure to stay tuned for that. What are the big takeaways here? Well, I think it almost raises more questions than answers, and the fact that all these next-gen powertrains, we know they're coming, we just don't know when they're coming for each model. They are saying that the Corolla is most likely to be the first vehicle to employ these smaller displacement engines. And the design of this, they're expecting it to be very, very close to this. So, I mean, it looks so much like a Prius, right? Is everything just going to look like a Prius going forward? I mean, things already do. Some people say the new Camry looks like the Prius. The Crown and the Prius look similar. The Crown Estate and the Prius look similar. I don't have a problem with everything kind of looking like a Prius. I love the new Prius design. I like how sleek it is. It's aggressive. It's clean. It's aerodynamic, and you can still have quite a bit of design differences, even though you're still using the same philosophy of design with the hammerhead grille. I think this looks good. It's a Corolla. It doesn't need to be the world's sexiest car. It needs to be efficient and affordable. And with new engine technology, it might just crush the competition. But again, we're waiting for 2 more years probably till we see the next gen Corolla. But it's good to finally hear something about this new 13th gen right around the corner. I'll catch you guys in the next one.